Debuting on Netflix October 5th, 2022 is Mr. Harrington's Phone. This movie promises to be scary based on a Stephen King story. Should you watch this? Let me tell you what I think in this review coming up next. Mr. Harrington's Phone, I decided to watch this for a bunch of reasons. One, it's got Donald Sutherland in it. Two, I know John Lee Hancock. I know some of his movies, actually probably all of his movies. Three, Stephen King. So I thought, well, I'll give this a try. It looks actually kind of interesting. Movie also promises to be about smartphones. That's of interest to me. And so this movie ends up being about a boy who befriends a billionaire, a creepy Maine billionaire named Mr. Harrington, played by Donald Sutherland. He's got a creepy but cool mansion. He's got a closet full of secrets, horrible secrets that the kid is not let into. This is typical Stephen King stuff. And oh, by the way, foregrounded in this movie are the books. These two read books together. The kid reads books to the billionaire. That's partly what the billionaire wants the kid's friendship for. Reading out loud, the kid comes to love it, and we see him grow up over the course of the movie into a teenager, later on as a college student, but all of a sudden in the middle of the movie, about halfway in, Mr. Harrington dies. That may seem like a spoiler, but it's really no surprise given the trailer and summaries of the movie. The premise being that Mr. Harrington and the kid both get smartphones during the movie because they go from the year 2003 to 2008, the introduction of the smartphone, and so then they both go from reading books to then being on phones. The movie comments on that phenomenon quite a bit. When Mr. Harrington dies, the kid puts the phone in his casket, and then he starts to get he gets one creepy text message from Mr. Harrington pretty soon after. He's wondering what the heck is going on. Did the corpse do it? Is Mr. Harrington still alive? Sort of classic New England Stephen King kind of horror setup. Now, let me give you some sort of spoilers, but not really. It gives you a flavor for the movie. One, this movie is not scary at all. There's like no horror elements in this movie. I think there's a little bit of false advertising here. I feel like I was misled. I thought that the kid was going to get more messages on the phone, and he's going to have to solve mystery, and there are ghosts involved. But no, all that's contemplated or said out loud in the movie. But really, this is a coming-of-age story about a kid in 2003 going from being a boy. His mother's died. He laments and mourns her loss throughout the entire movie. Got a single father raising him. Kid goes from high school, where he's bullied and harassed, but has a great teacher, to college by the end of the movie. And he's dealing with the inception of the smartphone era and whether he should be on his phone a lot. Of course, Mr. Harrington is a billionaire, an old man. At the beginning and the middle of the movie, he gets addicted to phones and is more interested in the phones than the reading aloud part. So, very clear commentary on Stephen King's part. I feel like this is an anti-smartphone movie. It's quite moralistic in this sort of tradition of moralistic tales from New England, which Stephen King likes. And then this is a character drama, the study of this kid, and this movie has a lot of atmosphere, while the plot just keeps dragging on and on. Little things are revealed, but not much. And I'm feeling by the end, the atmosphere loses its interest, and then the plot does not go quick enough for this movie. So I feel like in the second half, it's a little dull and boring to me. Plus, Donald Sutherland leads the movie. He's one reason to watch it, because I always liked his acting, but yet he's not in the second half of the movie. So I feel like this movie loses a lot of interest. In the end, it relies a lot on imagery, on its themes, which are quite obvious. The bare rock of Maine, the kid's bare soul. Will he keep the phone or not? There's a lot of moralism, as I said, about phones and whether we are corrupted by them or not, whether we become different people or not. And there's a little tiny bit of horror element that's added in, but it's not really scary at all. Now, I should have known this is not a horror movie because look at the title. What kind of movie that's scary would have this title, Mr. Harrington's Phone? That sounds more like a TV sitcom than the horror movie. And John Lee Hancock, writer-director, is hit or miss for me. I feel like a couple of his movies I really like, a couple are okay. He's trying to cover, look at his whole oeuvre, trying to cover the whole of the United States. Maybe this movie's in Maine. He's got a couple in Texas, Illinois with The Founder, California, maybe Florida with The Rookie. There's a bunch of different states, and so he's kind of covered a lot of the United States by this point. Now, all in all, I thought this movie was okay. I'll give it 2.5 stars. In truth, I was quite tired when I watched this movie. I didn't have my brain fully engaged. I actually think that is the way to watch this movie. Don't think too hard about it. Just watch it. And you may still be annoyed by it, or you may still be delighted, but at least that gives this movie a fighting chance. Because you start to think about this movie, there's not as much going on in it, and it's not as rich and complex as I would like on the issue, especially of phones, which we've heard these complaints about phones ever since the inception of them for almost 15 years. I feel like a rehash of what's going on with the phones in this movie is not needed or it's just the same thing regurgitated. I think we could go beyond the sort of discourse and talk about phones in the modern world. So for all those reasons, I give this movie 2.5 stars and say it's just okay. What do you think of Mr. Harrington's Phone, though? Let us know in the comments. Did you like it or not? Should people watch this? Is this first tier, second tier, third tier, bottom tier Stephen King? I think it's middle tier at best. It's okay, but not great. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel for more great content. Have a great day. Themes here are school bullying, what you should do about bullying, whether if you have power, how should you use it, if you have the power over life or death, what should you do with it, all these things come up. And the kid, from one point of view, becomes, in a Stephen King way, more kooky and paranoid as the plot goes along. And you can sort of blame him for not seeing the obvious possible reasons why he's getting 1, 2, 3 secret messages on his phone from Mr. Harrington. At the same time, maybe his kookiness and paranoia are part of that smartphone era, and he probably needs to get rid of his phone in the end.